I see and hear it all the time. Hand-dyed yarn is too expensive. Yarn dyers are charging too much for yarn. And like, I get it. If you go into the yarn shop and you see a ball of wool for £5, or you see a reel of a yarn business boasting that they're only charging £11 for a skein of yarn, and then you see another business charging £20 for a skein of yarn, it's going to make you pause. But today I would like to talk with you about hand-dyed yarn. Is it too expensive, or do we just not want to talk about how much it costs to make? Hey there, it's Hannah. Welcome to the Corner of Craft, or welcome in. Come on in, take a seat, grab a project. I am a full-time yarn dyer with my business, Chromatic Yarns. It's not just a hobby that I make money from, it's my full-time income and has been, it will be 8 years in June. I don't want this video to come across as me talking drama or it being a call out or anything. That's not the intention of this video at all. I just want you, as a customer, not necessarily of mine, or a potential customer, let's say, to understand where my prices come from, where our prices come from as an industry, and they're not just plucked out of the air and presented on a skein of yarn. I just want you to understand what you're paying for. So it's time that we have a bit of a transparent chat. If you disagree with anything that I talk about in this video, please let me know. Leave me a comment down below. I'm very open to feedback. Let's get a discussion going. I can be wrong about things. It's called being human. Sincerest apologies for lack of video last week. East Anglia Yarn Fest is coming up. Festival. It's coming up quick. So it's sort of full-on yarn mode, which means little time for planning videos. I've managed to plan this one though, so I've got notes on a screen, so if I'm looking that way, that's what I'm looking at. If you'd like to follow me on social media, links can all be found in the description box below. No pressure. The top that I am wearing is the TPCT. I can't remember who it's by. I'll pop it on the screen. The perfect crop top, and it only took under 2 skeins of yarn. I love it. It's in my... I can't remember what colourway this is. Someone will know. Someone will know. So the standard industry price, if you will, for a skein of yarn is around £20-ish. I'll be working in pounds in this video because I am English. We work in pounds. But yes, it's around £20, give or take. Some people charge a bit less. Some people charge a bit more. It depends on the base as well. Now, let me be very clear that unlike some places on the internet that accuse us of this, we're not Scrooge McDuck. We're not diving into pools of money, swimming around and showering ourselves in coins. For one, that would hurt. But two, we don't have that much excess cash. Let's be real transparent there. Like that £20 label didn't just come out of nowhere. We didn't all just sit round a real big table. IKEA must have one of those. A real big table, and we all just decided, let's overcharge. £20? Yeah. Yep. Cool. Yeah, £20. We did not do that. It's £20 because that is roughly the cost that it makes to sustainably run a hand-dyed yarn business. We've discussed the difference between like commercial yarn, hand-dyed yarn and all of that, so I'm sure you're aware of it. But these aren't commercially dyed yarns. They're not dyed by the thousands of skeins. They're often very small batch. I have a batch of 60 skeins in an oven right now. I can do max 180 skeins in a week at the minute because I can dye 3 days a week. Sometimes 4 if I'm lucky. Yeah, we're not churning out that yarn. At least not at Chromatic Yarns, we're not. It's often one person running the show. Some businesses are bigger, sure. But for the most part, it's one person running the show. They're dyeing the yarn, they're creating the colourways, they're marketing, they're doing the newsletters, they're doing the social media, they're doing the website, they're doing the admin, they're doing all of it. One person. So let's just break down one skein of yarn. Before I even think about what colour I would like to dye, before I do anything to that skein of yarn, that skein of yarn costs me around £5. That's including VAT. Chromatic Yarns is not currently VAT registered, which means I don't have to pay VAT, which means my £20 skein of yarn does not include VAT. I do not charge VAT because I'm not VAT registered yet. VAT is like 20% in the UK. Not like 20%, it is 20% in the UK. Anyway, that £5 skein of yarn is the wholesale price. Most yarn, the two yarn shops, mills, that's the word, the two mills that I use have a minimum order of 10 kilos. Is it 10 kilos or 5 kilos? I'll say 5 kilos because I'm not sure, which means I need to buy at least £250 worth of yarn. Money pounds, not weight pounds. £250 worth of yarn to make my wholesale order, to get yarn at that price. So, you know, those people talking about selling yarn for $15 a skein, you know who I mean. £11 a skein. We're already getting in quite tight territory with margins. And we've not even put dye on it yet. So let's add dye. Professional acid dyes, which is what I use, they're not cheap. They're not cheap at all. In short, you don't use a full tub on one skein of yarn. I know this. A lot of the dye that I use comes from the US or it comes from Australia, but I do also have some UK-based acid dyes. The Australian ones, landscape dyes, they're like £11 for a small tub. And then Dharma runs from between like £3-ish up to £8 for a 50-gram tub. The landscape dyes is also a 50-gram tub. But I don't know what makes those dyes different prices, the Dharma dyes. It could be the pigment. I don't know. If anyone knows, that'd be really useful because I actually don't have a clue. Anyway, then we have citric acid. That has recently come down in price. Thank goodness. In COVID times, it got up to like £30 for a 5 kilo tub. I buy mine in 5 kilo tubs. And it got so much. I guess people making bath bombs, I don't know. Citric acid, it got so expensive, but it's come down. It's £18 for 5 kilos, which is great. Very annoying. My most recent tub came with a split down the side. Very frustrating, but that's life. But then there's also like the water, gloves, masks, measuring spoons, jugs, the gastro pans, the electricity, blah, blah, blah. Like these are all like running costs. They're not just like a one-time purchase. You know, everything needs replacing eventually. Your gastronome pans will get holes in the bottom eventually. Touch wood. I have not yet had to replace mine. I run an oven to heat my yarn. I use a spin dryer to spin the excess water out. This time of year, the sun is shining today. Oh my goodness, it's glorious. We've had a couple of days of sun. Everyone feels like a new person, renewed. Anyway, this time of year, I have to run a dehumidifier like all the time to make sure that my undyed yarn does not go like gross. And I have heated airers on to dry my yarn, so I'm not waiting 10 years for my yarn to dry. Bring on the summer where I can just whack it outside. I mean, theoretically, I could put it outside today, but I don't have any wet yarn that I need to dry today. This was very poor planning on my part. Anyway, this all uses electricity, and sadly, electricity isn't free. Who knew? And then we get into a slightly uncomfortable topic of my wage. Because believe it or not, as much as I love dyeing yarn, and I love being able to create things and sell it for my income, unfortunately, just loving what you do doesn't actually keep a roof over our head. Yeah, I do need to pay myself as well. And I don't know, some people seem to forget that small business owners need to pay themselves in order for the small business to keep going. Unfortunately, we live in a world that requires money to survive. So we'll have to pay ourselves something. This is what goes into dyeing and selling yarn, for those of you who are interested. We have prepping the yarn, which is taking it out of its packet and popping it on a zip tie, putting it in a bucket and putting water on it, and leaving that to soak. And then we have laying it all out in the tray, applying the dye, putting those trays into the oven. We then let them cook, let them cool, take them out of the oven. We wash the yarn, we rinse the yarn, we pop the yarn in a spin dryer. We then hang the yarn on an air dryer to have it dry. There's twisting the yarn, there's labeling the yarn, there's laying it out and creating beautiful flat lays for photographs so it attracts your attention on social media, which we also need to post on as part of this job. We need to photograph the yarn, we need to edit the photos, We need to create the listings. We need to write to the listings that nobody reads. And we need to write newsletters talking about a new collection or a shop launch, or hey, don't forget that I'm here too. We have social media posts that we have to do frequently. Otherwise, the algorithms think she's not posting. Punishment. Do not show her stuff to anyone. That's a really fun time. There's the marketing of it. There's packing orders. And then there's just like customer service, responding to emails, responding to comments, admin. Up until medium recently, I also had to do all my own bookkeeping. But now I pay a nice sum of over £200 a month for an accountant to do that for me. All of that altogether isn't just like a few minutes of work. It's quite a lot of work. I'm not saying, oh my goodness, my job is so hard. I have the hardest job in the world. That is not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. It's quite cushy. I'll be honest. I know it's quite cushy. I'm not saying try being a small business owner for a day. I dare you. What I'm saying is we deserve to be paid for our time as well. That's the point that I'm making here. Because like, if I don't pay myself for all of this time, it's just going to be a hobby that results in complete burnout. And I'm going to end up being in the hole with no money at the end of it because I'm not paying myself, and everything that I earn goes back into the business, which I did for a good number of years anyway. But then on top of all this, there are yet more I actually have a video where I like break down. Filmed it, was it last year? My afternoon tea collection. I'm going to do this for every collection, but I've not had another collection since. There's one coming out medium soon, so keep an eye out. Yes, my afternoon tea collection, where I said, this is how much money I made. And then I did a breakdown of all the expenses and how much money I ended with. Like, I have really accurate numbers, medium accurate numbers on there. And I can't find my notebook because my life exists in chaos at the minute. So I can't remember what any of those numbers are. But I host my website on Shopify. Shopify charges you to have a website on there. And then both Shopify and PayPal charge processing fees depending on how you pay. Shopify charges, or Stripe charges, less than PayPal does. So if you can, avoid PayPal, but I also get it. I do use PayPal myself, so call me a hypocrite. There's like packaging costs, postage costs, insurance, business tax, my own personal tax, but that comes out of my wage. Paying my accountant, and then I need to set some money aside for investing back into my business. So that £20 skein of yarn shrinks quite quickly. I need to pay my pension as well. I want to retire at some point. I like to future plan. Pension. You should have one if you can afford one. But like setting money aside so you can invest in your business or replace equipment, I feel like that's really, really important. It's a personal pet peeve. You can call me out on it if you like. I get stressed and generally get the ick when this isn't just yarn dyers, this is a lot of businesses that do this, and they say, oh my goodness, this crucial piece of equipment has broken. I need to repair it, replace it, whatever. Crowdfunding, or I really want to rent a space to dye yarn out of. Can you crowdfund this amount? I'm going to do like Kickstarter, or what's it called? GoFundMe. Help me pay the rent. I'm like, well, no, because if your business can't afford it without doing a crowdfunding, then you can't afford to rent the space anyway. Once again, I could be wrong in this. If I'm wrong in this, tell me that I'm wrong in this, but that's just my own personal thoughts and feelings. But I can buy a ball of wool for £2 in a yarn shop. Yes, you can. Do that. Please do that. Go to your local yarn shop. Support them. They need your support too. Hey, I do that too. I don't exclusively buy... I'm fiddling with my necklace way too much. I apologise. I don't exclusively buy hand-dyed yarn. This isn't hand-dyed yarn. This was not knit out of hand-dyed yarn. I'm not using a £20... Two £20 balls of yarn. I'm not knitting my toddler a £40 jumper. No. No, thank you. Unless I dye it myself. Maybe I will, because that feels a bit different. But as a general rule, no, I'm not doing that. She's very mucky. She gets commercial yarn and she doesn't complain because she doesn't know the difference because she's 20 months. She's 20 months. She's getting so big now. Like, I'm I'm not even in the same category as the £2 ball of yarn. The £2 ball of wool, for the most part, is acrylic. Sometimes you get a bargain on Aldi Wool Week where it's £1.29 and there's some wool content. But for the most part, we're not the same. Like, those are all dyed en masse in a massive commercial mill. I don't know, factory, let's call it what it is. They're distributed by huge businesses who hire people to do, separate people, not the same person, separate people to do the marketing. Someone else does the social media, someone else does the websites, and they're all different people. They have the ability to do that, and that's great. Like, my husband's a baker, he owns his own business, so maybe this is why this kind of makes sense in my head, but buying a loaf of bread from Batched Bakehouse, that's my husband's business, is not the same as buying a loaf of bread from Tesco. They're both bread. One is much tastier and has a much smaller list of ingredients. They're both bread. They both toast well. They'll probably both be nice with butter on, but they are different. They're different. I'm not calling anyone out. I'm not naming the business. If you know who I'm talking about, please do not leave their name in the comments down below. I will delete your comment. I'm not coming for them. I'm not starting beef. That is not the intent of this video. However, there's a business out there who's very proud about the fact that they're selling yarn for £11 a skein, $15 to be precise. And they're talking about how they want to make hand-dyed yarn more accessible to people, which I do completely understand, because I do understand that £20 for a skein of yarn is completely inaccessible to quite a lot of people. I get it. I do get it. But like, the maths just doesn't add up for me. I don't know how they're doing it. If the yarn costs £5, maybe they get their yarn from a cheaper supplier, maybe they get cheaper yarn. But if the yarn costs £5, and then you've got citric acid, you've got dye, you've got water, you've got electric, you've got the website fees, the payment processing fees, you've got taxes, you've got all of that. How is there any money? Like, where is their wage? Where are the taxes? I mean, they might add that on at checkout. I know the US is weird with taxes. Like, you don't show the taxes in the supermarket, which I think is odd. No, not taxes. You don't show, like, the final price of the product in a supermarket, which I do think is odd. Like, if I get a bottle of water and it's £1 off the shelf, I would just hand over £1 because that's how much it is. I don't have to add taxes in my head. But, like, where's the profit? Where's the profit for the business? Because, like, profit gets a bad name. People think business, profit, boo. But profit isn't always bad. Excessive profit is bad. Some profit isn't bad because it's how I was able to spend £5,000 to get my shed kitted out. It's how I was able to spend £1,000 to buy a really bad oven. I should take my video about my oven down because it is not a great oven. It's how you scale your business. It's how I'm able to do... I've done over £2,000 worth of yarn I have bought to dye for East Anglia Yarn Festival. It's how I was able to do that without needing income up front. It's how you like survive slow seasons. Like, the summer is approaching, not quickly enough, but the summer is approaching. No one buys yarn in the summer. That's such a slow season. It's how you take time off. It's how you handle emergencies. And like, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any stability with a business if you don't have profits. So like, realistically, this dyer isn't paying themselves properly. And all of the money must be going back into the business. They've recently bought an oven as well. I'm always happy to be proven wrong. And I've said this so much. Like, if I am wrong, wonderful. Good. But I don't see how this business is going to survive long term with only charging £11 a skein. They're dyeing 500 skeins a week, which is a lot of yarn. They must just be churning it out non-stop. And I don't understand how that is just not going to lead to complete burnout. You don't have time to take time off. Whereas you could dye 250 skeins a week and charge $30 a skein. Even $20 a skein and dye like what? I can't do that maths that quickly. 350. Take a few days off. But all that to say, if I charged £11 for a skein of yarn, my business would not still be here 13 years on. I've been full-time with this business for 8 years in June, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I charged so little. I mean, with the cost of everything going up how it is, I technically should raise my prices, but it does feel a bit uncomfortable to do. But £20 is such a nice round number. And you may be thinking, Hannah, how is how someone else runs their business any of your business? And that's a fair comment to make. It is my business though, because how someone else runs their business does have an impact on my business. If yarn is consistently underpriced, it then becomes expected. That underpricing becomes the industry standard, I guess. And so people will come to my business and look at my yarn and think, that's outrageous. That is so expensive. I'm not paying that much. I can get it for half off from this other person over here. And it puts pressure on all these other yarn businesses to lower their prices as well to compete, which you might be thinking, that sounds great. I want hand-dyed yarn for cheaper. But it just means that loads of businesses will start closing. Because realistically, in order for me to make the same amount of money that I'm making, I would need to sell at half the price. I would need to sell double the yarn. And with love and respect, you are not buying double the yarn just because I'm charging half the price. We all have excessive stashes. We all do. We all love adding to the stashes. That is fine. We don't all have space in our stash to buy double the amount of yarn that we are currently buying. It would just lead to really skilled makers leaving the industry because they'll be so burnt out from either dyeing and selling so much yarn or just not wanting to undervalue their work. And it will just lead to businesses closing. I don't know. I think it's an unethical way to run your business, and not just because, oh, it's cheap yarn, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's an unethical way to run your business because it upsets the whole ecosystem of the small businesses. And all these other small businesses are trying to operate responsibly, sustainably, with other businesses in mind. And yeah, I've mentioned it a few times. This business is my full-time income. It's not just fun money. Miso is coming over. I might be joined by a cat. I'm so proud of this business that I've built over the last 12 years. And why should artists pay themselves less? Why should artists and creative people charge less? We know that hello Miso. We know that skilled labour, brings value. So why are creative industries looked differently than, say, a carpenter or a plumber? Which does lead me on to my next point. This has been discussed for years, and there are people that have made a much better point of it than I'm about to do, I'm sure. So it's often the female-dominated industries that are accused of charging too much. Miso, you need to settle, please. The people who sew, do nails, make candles, hairdressing, handmade jewellery. I bought this beautiful necklace from a small business. I love it. Crochet knitting designers, yarn dyers, obviously. They are all constantly being told that they're charging too much. These industries are predominantly run by women. Their prices are continually scrutinised. Meanwhile, other skilled labour, plumbers, electricians, builders, things like that, are often more male-dominated industries, and they can charge whatever they want and get very little pushback, at least from what I've seen. I mean, if it's outrageous, then yeah, but outrageous is a different level. Historically, things like knitting, sewing, mending were all done by women and girls in the home, and it wasn't paid labour. It was expected. It was an expected contribution to the household, and I just feel like that mentality hasn't quite shifted enough yet. I think subconsciously society hasn't yet moved far enough past that, so work that is traditionally done by women is still undervalued. Anyway, is hand-dyed yarn unaffordable? Yeah, sure. For some people it is. For some people it is. It's a luxury product. You are buying a luxury product. Not everything is designed for every budget, and I think that's okay. There is some beautiful commercially dyed yarn out there. Even some commercial businesses are starting to do or have yarn dyed in hand-dyed styles, or even are having hand-dyed yarn and able to churn it out. I don't know how they're doing that, but that's also fine. But hand-dyed yarn as a whole costs what it does because you are supporting that one person. And if you choose to support a business that charges industry standard pricing, you're supporting businesses that are running in responsible, sustainable, ethical ways. And hey, I don't want to sell cheap yarn. I don't want to put all that work in and look at the end of the month and think, oh, I should have done more. I want to be able to run my business long term, which I have been doing. I want to be able to take a break when I'm burnt out, because you can't create things when your cup is empty. You really can't. As someone who has tried, you really, really can't. Sometimes you need a break. I don't want to burn out and close my business that I've built for so long. I don't want that. I don't want that. So yes, hand-dyed yarn is unaffordable to many, but it's not unaffordable to everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you stuck with me to the end, please leave a yarn emoji in the comments down below. That would be lovely. Be part of the exclusive club. And what was that? If you'd like to follow me on social media, links can all be found in the description box below. That would be wonderful. The Stardew Valley collection is coming back to Chromatic yarns, and I'm really excited. I will be coming back with 4 new colourways, adding to it, whoop, 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 because Stardew Valley is 10 years old this year, so it seemed fitting to bring that collection back. I'm excited. I really want to start posting more like commentary style videos like this. So if there's anything you would like me to talk about, or anything you would like to know more about, please let me know. Leave a comment down below. Or if there's anything you disagreed with, anything you agreed with, anything that you want to expand further on, drop a comment. Drop a comment. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, that would be wonderful. I'm currently on a mission to hit 100k, so it would be lovely if you wanted to contribute to that. But if you don't, that's also absolutely fine. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or a thumbs down if you hated it. And yeah, I post a new video here every single Friday, and if once a week is not enough, I do also have a Patreon where you can subscribe and get a bonus video every single week. But you don't have to if you don't want to. Anyway, with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being so amazing. And I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye.